Hello, Chicago. This is Bears News Fan Report. Clear information, real context, no fluff. If you live in navy and orange, hit subscribe and tap the bell right now, because tonight's update connects two off-seasons, a handful of quiet phone calls, and a very specific need in this offense. The headline is simple, and it changes how the passing game feels on third down. The Bears are bringing in Elijah Moore, and the slot just became a pressure valve you can trust when the stadium gets loud. Stay with me, because you're getting the whole arc. How this moved from a staff note on a whiteboard to a green light. Why the coaches have circled this profile more than once. What the tape says he does on schedule that Chicago needs immediately. How it looks in the red zone in 2 minutes. What it means for roles in the receiver room, the risks and the ramp, and the near-term calendar so you know when to expect the first snaps. This is not a headline looking for a story. This is the story that explains the headline. Rewind to the self-scout after last season. In those late nights when the staff rewatched every 3rd and 5 from November and December, the same margin note kept appearing. Add a separation first. Slot who wins on time without stealing the playbook. The request wasn't for a poster. It was for a grown-up route runner who understands leverage, who can sit between zones with the quarterback's eyes, and who can turn a day of mud into first downs. Elijah Moore fit that sentence on film. Tidy releases, sharp stems, same body, language until the break. Strong hands through contact, and the courage to work in the teeth of coverage. The first quiet flirt came right after the combine cycle. Front offices talk constantly, and the Chicago-Cleveland line was no exception. Not a negotiation, a temperature check. How do you see the player? Where is the role in your room? If the door ever opens, what does sane value feel like? Those conversations rarely leak and often matter. Here, they kept the light on. Fast forward to the early summer install. Chicago's passing game leaned into what it wants to be. Motion to force tells, condensed splits to stress leverage, stack and bunch to free releases, and answers that keep the ball on schedule. The room already had speed that stretches the roof and size that wins at the boundary. What it needed was the quiet technician who punishes off coverage on third and medium, who can carry the shallow cross into daylight, and who understands scramble rules when the picture changes. Again, every arrow on the board pointed back to the same profile, and the film kept saying the same name. Then Camp sharpened the question. The offense looked clean when the first read was open and the pocket was pristine. It looked a hair-labored. When the defense disguised window dressing and forced the quarterback to hold for a beat. That's when a slot who separates on time becomes a scheme multiplier. You motion him across to force the nickel to declare. You stack him to free the release. You give your quarterback a clean picture and a receiver who will be where the picture says he should be. At the exact moment it says he should be there. Staff approval climbed, cap planning checked the boxes, and the clock turned from theory to calendar. Tick to the last 72 hours, the part fans actually feel. Logistics first. Travel lined up. Medicals slotted. Install packet built around third down families and red zone rules. Inside the building, the role was written in plain English. Live primarily in the slot in 11 personnel, rotate into reduced splits in 12 for play action, be the first answer on 3rd and 5 to 3rd and 7, and the second answer in 2-minute when. The defense plays umbrella. Motion and stacks will be your friends. Option routes will be your money. Scramble rules will be rehearsed until they feel like a planned play. Nothing mystical, just football. Put in sentences everyone can run at full speed. What will you actually see on TV? 3 frames tell most of it. Frame 1. 3rd and 5, ball on the +45. Chicago shifts to a stack right before the snap. The nickel defender backs off because the rub threat is live. Moore takes a speed release, sells outside for 2 steps, sticks the foot, and snaps. Back to the stick at 6 yards with his numbers to the quarterback. Ball out on time, chain crew jogging, drive stays alive. You didn't need a miracle. You needed a professional. Frame 2. Condensed split, play action from under center. The linebacker's step, the field safety widens a half yard, and Moore climbs. On the deep over at 18 yards, flattening late so he doesn't run himself into the post safety. It's an explosive without asking your quarterback to hold the ball for 3 seconds. Your run game gets the respect. Your pass game steals yards from the void that respect creates. That's how structure pays you back. Frame 3. High red. Zone at the 12. Chicago calls an option out of a bunch look. If the nickel sits inside leverage, Moore leans into him and takes the back shoulder to the front pylon. If the nickel bails, he throttles under at 8 and presents an easy window for a glance. Either way, you're dictating with leverage and timing, not praying through a thicket of bodies. This is what separation first looks like when the field compresses. There's a 2-minute layer that fans will feel in their bones. When defenses live in soft zone and mask pressure looks late, the offense that keeps moving is the offense that has someone like Moore to sit in the void and then accelerate into the next window when the quarterback climbs. The best 2-minute drills are boring to watch and awful to defend. 6 yards here, 7 there, occasional shot when the safety cheats, spike, reset, repeat. A slot technician lets you call that with a calm hand instead of chasing a hero throw. They run game benefits, too, because this staff refuses to carry receivers who won't block. Moore isn't a drive-you-to-the-track blocker. He's an on-time, on-angle stalk and steer who turns a bubble into 8 instead of 4 and a toss crack, into 2nd and 2 instead of 2nd and 6. When your perimeter work is synchronized, the same personnel package sells play action without subs, and defenses hate that math. Let's talk roles, because that's the question you'll ask before the press conference even finishes. No, this doesn't cannibalize the boundary. It clarifies it. The speed stressor keeps pulling the roof. The size piece keeps punishing singles. The tight ends keep the seams honest. And Moore lives in the spaces the coverage vacates when it respects those truths. If a young receiver has been asked to be a volume answer before he was ready, this lets him grow on sane snaps. If a veteran has been asked to be in 2 places at once, this gives the offense a second option so he doesn't have to be. Now the calendar, because fans deserve a clock they can follow. Travel check, medicals, pen, photos, install. Day 1 is language. Where to line up, how Chicago names what he already runs, which motions unlock the leverage he likes. Day 2 is third down families and red zone rules, the calls he'll hear when the lights are hottest. Day 3 is scramble and 2-minute dialogue, the unsexy if-then sentences that turn chaos into a routine. The first game you see him, expect a clear snap count and a focused roll. The second game, expect more route families and a little more motion. By the 3rd week, the offense should feel like it added a calm button it can push without huddling. You'll notice ripple, effects without needing a depth chart in your lap. A young wideout who's been asked to be a volume answer can breathe and grow. Tight ends get cleaner matchups because the nickel can't cheat inside with impunity. Backs get easier check-throughs because the hook defender widened a step to honor the shallow. And the play caller finds those simple calls that make second quarters uneventful and fourth quarters shorter. How does this change Sundays in the division? Defenses that leaned into simulated pressure on third and medium will have to decide whether they want to give up the underneath completion to Moore and live with their third and short problem, or whether they want to squeeze the short window and risk a shot over their head when the roof widens. Either choice is a win for Chicago because the offense is forcing the defense to pick its poison at the snap instead of dictating from the huddle. Drop your read in the comments. Would you feature Moore immediately as the first answer on every 3rd and 5, or would you slow roll it so the slot volume grows as the calendar turns? Would you use him as the motion man to collect coverage tells, or park him static so the quarterback always knows where his thermostat lives? Your answers shape the film room we'll run as soon as the first snaps hit our screen, and if this room moves like the plan says it will, you'll see the telestrator come out fast. And, as we always do only at the very end, the disclosure that keeps this community honest. This episode lives in our rumors and speculation window. We connect internal signals, football logic, and a long memory of how these front offices talk to show why a move like this fits and exactly how it would look if finalized. My personal take is simple. A separation first slot with clean timing doesn't just add catches. He gives the play caller a calm button and turns loud third downs into quiet first downs. The kind of grown man upgrade that shows up on the scoreboard without needing a headline to explain it.